Hey, yeah, everybody. Welcome to another week of my spooky studio. Gonna let some of my fellow friends and Fredheads and horror fans filter in here for a little bit. How is everybody doing? Hopefully, pretty well. I feel like I start it that way every week and kind of like back and forth. It's kind of like the comedy special when people are like, "How are you doing?" And it's like, we can't even really talk to you and everything is the same, and it's always the worst when comedians start that way. So maybe I'll just have to do something else and get right into the meat and two veg of it. Should have just said something else. But hey, as you could probably tell from the title of this show, I'm going to be talking a lot about Dylan's New Nightmare and the advanced screening of it that took place last Friday at Mad Monster Party in Arizona. For those of you joining for the first time, hi, welcome. My name is Diandra Laser. I'm a huge horror fan, mostly of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And every Wednesday, I sit down to talk without editing or all the fancy stuff, just about what's been going on. A special topic, maybe in I don't want to give too much away. I'm biting my tongue. But in any case, I just sit down and I talk with fellow horror fans and kind of give some insight into what I'm doing every week. I am mostly a creator on Instagram, Twitter, here on YouTube, all over. I've been doing a lot of A Nightmare on Elm Street stuff for a very, very long time, involved in the horror space. And so this is just kind of a way for me to sit in my studio where you could see all the everything, and I'm just talking. Hi, Jim. Hi, Robert, Danny, David, Bookie. Hey, Bubs. Welcome. Um, so thank you for everybody who tuned in last week to my spooky studio. Really appreciate it. I was teasing about Mad Monster Party. Of course, it's already a week later, and here we are. Before I get into Dylan's New Nightmare and Mad Monster, I did want to talk about some horror news that's been heavy on my mind. That kind of caught my attention within the last week to give you guys a bit of an update. If there's something that you're super excited about, whether I list it or not, let me know. Insidious The Red Door is out. I've heard really, really good reviews. Some people didn't like it, but I don't hear that as often. Of course, Patrick Wilson is at the helm. He has a nice song collaboration at the end with Ghost. He wanted to go for something a little Dream Warriors, which he shared in one of his interviews. And so that's a nice little nod to A Nightmare on Elm Street. I have not yet seen it. We've been pretty swamped over here, but it is high on my list because Insidious is my favorite modern horror franchise. There is a movie that I found out. I don't know if anybody out there is a horror movie and heavy metal fan, called Welcome to Hell on Screambox, which apparently just celebrated its 1 year. I feel like there's so much horror out there. I just miss it. I don't know about you. It's about a terrified mother to be who is desperate to escape her murderous ex, who's part of a satanic death metal band. That sounds sweet. I believe it might be a foreign film, but I'm definitely going to check that out. I just learned about that this week. It's not new for being on there, but Bloody Disgusting did write an article bringing it to my attention, which is why it's important to always talk about things and celebrate milestones, because not everybody knows about it. Uh, Found out that last year's movie Prey, in the Predator franchise, has been nominated for Outstanding TV Movie at the Emmy Awards. Isn't that exciting? We love Prey. We love to see horror get nominated, which it does not very often. And because this was a streaming movie, it qualified. But how about that? Prey has an Emmy nomination. I hope it wins. I wish that more award shows would honor horror. I feel like it's just a totally unsung genre. There's still that stigma that it's not to be taken seriously, but there are so many big name actors behind it. There's something that's bound to change. There is a Korean zombie apocalypse reality show coming to Netflix. It's called Zombieverse, first of its kind reality series that unleashes the ravenous undead in Seoul, Korea. It's going to debut on August 8th of 2023. We all know that Korea loves its zombies and produces some incredible zombie content. You should check out Train to Busan if you have not. It's arguably one of the best zombie movies ever made. And while you're at it, check out our Snacks and Screams episode on Train to Busan. If you don't know what Snacks and Screams is, my goodness, I'm tripping over my words. If you don't know what Snacks and Screams is, it is the review show where I, a big horror fan, watch horror movies that I've never seen before, and I talk about them and review a special, unique snack that usually ties into the movie in some way, shape, or another, because you can't have movies without a good snack. It's just better. It's science. Nicolas Cage is once again giving us incredible horror content, just rather content in general. I mean, he's done Renfield, he's done Willy's Wonderland, he's done just all of these amazing, quirky movies. Um, Fascinating things that I don't know who else would take on these roles that he's getting, or who else would be able to be a part of these kinds of movies that he's in. But I'm so glad he is. People are like, I haven't seen Nicolas Cage in forever. That's because you're not well versed in everything that's going on in kind of the underground scene. But this movie sounds super, super interesting. It's called The Retirement Plan. The trailer dropped very, very recently. And it's a bloody action comedy that's coming to US theaters this August 25th. He's basically an estranged father who has to kick butt to save his daughter. The film stars Ashley Greene of Twilight, Ernie Ghostbuster Hudson, Ron Perlman, and Jackie Earle Haley. And Ron and Jackie are apparently they're like the criminals. They're the bosses. They work in all the underground stuff. I'm so freaking excited. Nicolas Cage, he's one of my top favorite actors of all time. I will watch anything he's in. And apparently he's going to be returning to the beach scene in a movie, an action thriller called Surfer, where he battles a surfer gang on the beach. I'm in. Bless Nicolas Cage. There's a documentary that I did not know about called Invaluable, the true story of an epic artist, which digs into the life and times and art of the Evil Dead artist Tom Sullivan. It's apparently coming to Blu-ray August 1st, and you can pre-order copies on Amazon. There's also a new trailer for the Texas Chainsaw video game. It looks like a lot of fun, looks like the same kind of quality as the Friday the 13th games. I'm just waiting for a Nightmare on Elm Street game, but alas, still nothing. Yo, girls, positive. Oh my goodness, look at all these comments. I'm going to catch up on this before I get into the meat of what we're here to talk about. Robert the Wolfman says, it was so great having you guys out and joining us for the premiere. Thanks, buddy. I am so glad I made it. Like, what a freaking thing to be a part of. Savannah said, hey, everyone. Emmy said, hi. Kane B, what's up? Catching his first stream. Jim again, hoping to take Connor to New Insidious sometime this week. Dude, Connor's crushing it. Hi, Brain. Pride Freddy, hey, love Pride Freddy. Gustavo said hello, love all those spooky emojis. Train to Busan, love to hear it. Did cry at the end of Train to Busan. Honestly, me too. Gustavo said Ron Perlman is one of those and only Hellboy. Yeah. Ron Perlman is so great. It's wild to me because I've watched Ron Perlman in movies forever. To go to a con, I think we rounded a corner at a con. And was it Ron Perlman? If Jason is nearby, if he could tell me, was it Ron Perlman, I think, was taking a nap in a chair? That's a weird thing to see, Ron Perlman taking a nap in a chair. And then I saw him hanging out with Keith David. It's just like when you go to cons, you see things that you just can't really make up. But let's get into Dylan's new nightmare. So I went to Mad Monster Party, Arizona, just for Friday. It is in Phoenix, Arizona. As you may or may not know, I moved to Las Vegas within the last month. And it's about a 4-hour drive to Phoenix to this con. And so when I found out that Dylan's New Nightmare, this highly anticipated sequel to New Nightmare, which is my favorite nightmare movie, my favorite movie of all time, was getting a sequel and premiering at this convention that was so close, we knew that we had to be there because I will go far and wide for anything nightmare. And of course, Robert was there. I got to pick with him, but I've already been in his line. I've already paid the money. It's been great, though. I really, really enjoyed that. It was hot. I don't know if you guys have been following Mark Patton, Jesse from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, but he was talking about, oh, it's like 114. It was every day. And I'm from the Midwest, so I'm just getting used to 100-degree days out here and 100-degree nights because I was walk outside and I'd be like, oh, I'm feeling kind of hot. And I'd walk outside expecting there to be a cool breeze. It's much worse. Much worse. Glad there's no humidity, but it's much worse. And then, and it's like, this week is just super hot and it just seems like it's growing. It's going to be like 116 this week here in Vegas. And yeah, it's taken me some time to get used to waking up and it's 8:30 in the morning and 107. But we went and I didn't know what to expect from Mad Monster. I had only ever been really to a couple of Midwest cons, like Days of the Dead, Horror Hound. I'd been to Horror Realm Con when it was around. I don't know if it still is. I've been to Chiller Theater up in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'd been to Texas Frightmare. And so when you go to a new con, you really don't know, because my wrong understanding was that mostly cons outside of the Midwest are usually smaller. They're usually a little bit of a different animal. So I tried Googling pictures and I finally saw all of these different, some little hints of these pictures. And I was like, okay, it looks like a good sized con. And I got there and it reminded me so much of like Days of the Dead, Indianapolis, from like 2013, or Horror Hound, Cincinnati, before it just really outgrew the Sharonville Convention Center. And, which is so packed. I'm so used to Midwest packed cons there. And this was like a good size. Not only did it look like, you know, Days of the Dead from back then, it also had the similar attendance rating. Like, it was a lot of people, but it wasn't too packed. There was a lot of room to move around. There was a lot of room to stop. The smaller aisleways had quite a few people, but it was not like you're squeezing by like you can be at some of the Midwest cons. It was a little more open. Lots of great vendors, creative displays. I did not get a full chance to really walk around because we were filming for Dylan's new Nightmare. But from what I saw, and I know Jason got a lot of really, really good B-roll, there were some really great vendors. And it's a con that I would absolutely go back to. It was funny because one of my friends that I was talking to there was saying how she's not used to it being so packed on a Friday. And for me, I'm looking at this con going, this is like a normal Saturday back in the day. I am so thankful that I have room to go like this, because all the cons are just not like that anymore. Not really. But Robert Englund was there, Mark Patton, Kim Myers from Nightmare 2, Kane Hodder, Richard Brake. I got a funny story about him. Lance Henriksen, David Howard Thornton, Damian Leone, and of course, Miko Hughes there for Dylan's new Nightmare. There were some other big names, but they were only there Saturday and or Sunday. Of course, we were only there Friday, so I did not get a chance to see them. But I did, if you guys know this, I am a huge, I love Richard Brake, and I am a huge, pusher that he should be Freddy in the next A Nightmare on Elm Street something. So we were in the middle of filming our TikTok, our Heather Langenkamp New Nightmare TikTok. And Richard had a quiet moment at his table and he walked nearby. And I was like, Richard, I just want to let you know I'm such a huge fan, such a huge fan. Also, you should play Freddy in the next A Nightmare on Elm Street. Straight up. I had to tell him. And he was like, really? Well, thank you. I've heard that actually a couple times, and that sounds so cool. And I was like, whoa, other people are on board. It's gotten back to him. And I was talking to a friend who is connected to the industry, and they were talking to somebody that they work with who is in the industry, and they were like, I keep hearing rumblings of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the next A Nightmare on Elm Street, and Richard Brake's name keeps coming up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, could he be in talks? And he's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. He was like, oh man, that might be Richard Brake's character, but at the same time, maybe he's like, oh man, maybe. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more, because he could be in talks. I hope he gets it. Holy moly boly. Ron Perlman and Keith David deep napping on a chair. Thanks, Jay. Hey, Davey. Thanks for joining. I loved your review of Dylan's new Nightmare. I'm so excited to see what you get out of your channel. You are super, super charismatic, and I think that is going to serve you well. I also really like your mohawk. Gustavo's from Texas, 100-degree weather day and night. Yeah, I'm gonna get there. I hope I will. I want to become a lizard. Hi, Ashton. Halloween Horror Nights are my go-to places on the list. I hope to go to both in the future. Yeah, man. Texas Frightmare was a bucket list for me. I was glad I was able to do it. Monster Mania is another bucket list. That seems like another one of the big ones that I really, really want to go to. Hi, Holly. Richard Brake. Love to hear it. Gustavo, Freddy Krueger in the new Nightmare on Elm Street has big shoes to fill since Robert Englund last played the Spring of Slasher in 2003's Freddy vs. Jason. Yeah, they do. They really do. But at the same time, some people will never be happy. A lot of Nightmare fans will be happy. A lot of Nightmare fans are super open, but you will never find me subscribing to the ideology that Robert Englund is the only Freddy. We talked about this at the Dylan's New Nightmare premiere. Robert is the GOAT. He really is. We all love him. We all respect him. We just want somebody who's going to pay homage. And that's what Dylan's New Nightmare does. So for those of you who don't know, Dylan's New Nightmare is, as I previously stated, a sequel fan film to the 1994 film Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where an evil entity that has embodied the spirit and the look of Freddy Krueger because he likes it is haunting the people who made the films, primarily Heather Langenkamp. And in order to break out of his kind of demon film world into our reality, he's got to go through her because she's Nancy. She is his goat, his arch nemesis, and they need a fight. Of course, doesn't turn out so well for him, which brings us to Dylan's New Nightmare. All these years later, almost 30 years later, Dylan Porter, played by Miko Hughes, who played Dylan Porter in the original original OG in the, real Wes Craven's New Nightmare, the little boy, Heather's son, comes back as Dylan Porter, and he's, dealing with everything that happened to him still back during when New Nightmare took place. And then Freddy starts to come out. And I don't want to give away all the details because there's like all these fun little intricacies as to why Freddy's coming back, what's going on here, and some drama and details. But you guys are going to have to wait to see it. I do not want to give it away, but I do want to have Cecil on. I do want to have maybe Vince, maybe Dave McRae. Who knows? We want to have them on and have a really deep, good discussion about Dylan's New Nightmare. Of course, you'll get a lot of these questions when they release the Q&A for Dylan's New Nightmare. I don't know when that's going to be, but there are a lot of really, really good questions in there. I went to the con, of course, dressed as Heather Langenkamp from New Nightmare, my favorite cosplay. The first time I did that cosplay since 2013. So it has been 10 years since I did it. I'm glad that it still fit from my college days. Jason and I had a lot of conversations with Cecil and Robert, who's here in the chat, about, filming some behind the scenes footage of the excitement surrounding the premiere of Dylan's New Nightmare. Because of course, there were a lot of people who either drove there because it was closed, like us, or people flew there. Cecil told me people flew there just to see Dylan's New Nightmare. Huge event. I mean, this film has been blowing up. It's an association with, Womp Stomp, which has put out all these terrific Friday the 13th fan films. Terrific. And Vince, at his heart, he is a Friday the 13th man, but I have always wanted to see Womp Stomp do a Nightmare film, and they finally helped work on one, and it crushes. So Dylan's New Night. So let me start before the premiere. So Jason and I are kind of walking around. We're behind the booth. We're in front of the booth. We're hearing people talk about how excited they are. They're like, we have to make it to this con. We have to see Dylan's New Nightmare. We've got Cecil talking about it. They're right next to Miko, Ron Sloan, who is in the film, who was in Friday the 13th Part 5. He is in the movie. He was right next to them, but people were coming up talking about Dylan's New Nightmare, how they heard it, how they saw the trailer, how they're going to watch it that night. Nora, who does the makeup. So listen, this is a really cool thing that I will tell you a little bit about, but I won't give all of it away just yet because she does talk about it. Nora, who was on season 9 of Sci-Fi's Face Off, she did the makeup for Dave McRae. She worked with Mikey Rotella to create this Freddy makeup for Dave McRae for Dylan's New Nightmare. And she applied it at the con on the con floor. I think it might have taken 4 hours. I'm not entirely sure. We have a time lapse of it. But if you don't know who Mikey Rotella is, or you're like, oh, that name sounds familiar, he was the guy in the opening of I Am Nancy. He's the guy at the tattoo shop getting the Freddy tattoo with the belt buckle that I recently got after having just watched I Am Nancy again and being like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I really want that belt buckle. And I got it because of Mikey Rotella. Mikey Rotella is such a pro. He works in the special effects industry for films. He's done so much. And yeah, he worked with Nora to create this. And of course, he's a huge Fred head. So that was just a super special tie-in. When I learned about that, Nora was like, Mikey Rotella. I was like, oh my God, Mikey Rotella. Mikey Rotella, Paige, my girl Paige, director of Fred Heads, director of Don't Fall Asleep, all that stuff. You guys know her. She's always had a bit of a crush on Mikey Rotella. So that's super exciting for her. But yeah, Mikey Rotella involved in this. And if you want to watch Nora on that season, go to Peacock. But there are two particular Freddy makeups that she and Mikey wanted to pull together for this one. But I'm going to leave it dangling there because I want you guys to, tune into the Q&A when the horror show posts it, or the behind the scenes with our video. We talked to Cecil, Jason and I did. We talked to Vince of Womp Stomp. We talked to Robert. We talked to Dave a little bit, but he was getting in the makeup, and it was so exciting. So the time gets closer, and we're kind of standing outside the door of the main panel room. There's like 250 seats. People are just filling in and filling in and filling in, and the music is going, and there's the giant screens, the big stage. There's actually 3 screens, the big one in the middle, and I think almost all the seats were full for Dylan's New Nightmare. There was a guy that we talked to that had a Jason and Michael shirt on, and we were talking to him about fan films. Great, love it. He was talking about Jason and Michael, and I was like, "Are you going to go see Dylan's New Nightmare?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm on my way right now." And I was like, even the Jason and Michael fans are here to see Dylan's New Nightmare. We love to see it. So the lights come down. Before the movie screens, we had a preview of Womp Stomp's, Never Hike Alone 2, which killer. And we had Dave McRae up on stage as his Freddy, giving a wicked introduction. No like voice changing or anything like that. No special effects. Bro went up there, completely crushed the Freddy voice. Everyone was like, oh my God. And then Dylan's New Nightmare played. Now, I watched Dylan's New Nightmare when it was a rough, kind of toward the end cut. I guess it wouldn't even really call it a rough cut. It was just kind of like a really advanced screening, really advanced screening for me. And the final coloring was not done. The audio was not done. There was no music, no sound effects. The special effects were not done yet. And I was still super impressed. Well, let me tell you, this movie, I think they were talking about having some final touches to it. And kind of when you have an advanced screening, it's not the final yet. You're kind of waiting to see how the audience is going to react and then make some changes from there potentially. But man, this movie flipping rocked. I mean, coming out of those speakers, and I know that whole setup is not geared completely to have like a rockin' movie, like advanced screening or show movies, but the sound even just coming through those speakers, it was just like rumbling in your whole body, and the lighting and the effects looked so cool, and the acting was great. Miko, I said it before, I'm saying it again. Even with all this stuff, it just added this extra layer. Miko frickin' crushed it. He has not acted really in a very long time. Now, he's done some other films that I have watched, some smaller independent films, but Miko was so good. And I could just tell on his face when people are complimenting him, he didn't believe it. But what a performance from Miko. Stand out lead actor in this. I mean, the emotion that he has, the little pauses, the little quirks. I mean, that's an actor, man. I was so impressed with Miko. And there is a moment at the very end when it just seems like it had to be the most difficult challenge out of the entire film to make. And it takes you on a bit of a roller coaster, and it's amazing. I mean, Miko really truly carries that film in partnership with Dave McRae as Freddy. Now, I know we were talking about Robert being the only Freddy, but Dave got up there and he said that Robert is the GOAT, but what he wanted was to portray a version of Freddy that was not an imitation of Robert, but was his own interpretation of Freddy, inspired by Robert, that pays homage to Robert, but at its core just has the essence of Freddy. And I think he nailed it. I freaking think he nailed it. Um, he the voice was terrific. His mannerisms, like, it definitely just felt like Freddy. It did not feel like an imitation. It didn't feel like Robert is Freddy. It just feels like Freddy. And I shouted out during the Q&A, and I was like, mission accomplished. And people were clapping because people genuinely feel it. He is proven yet another actor, despite all the ones that I've listed before who've done a great job as Freddy, that somebody else can, in fact, take on the role. And I think that Dave really, really nails the sinisterness of Freddy, the dark humor. You know, we're not talking about necessarily Nightmare 4 Freddy here to 6. There's like a tone that's similar. It's like a mix of 3, a little bit of the super sinister version of Freddy and Freddy versus Jason, and then New Nightmare, all mixed in together. And it kind of feels like the Freddy that he's created that's haunting Dylan, that is, you know, coming after him, regaining his full power. The special effects were great. Ron Sloan, he is in, you know, a smaller bit of the movie, but he was really good. He was, how should I put this? You couldn't look away. That's all I can really say. I mean, he managed to capture what I think Cecil was going for very, very well. All of the actors, I think, did a very good job in it. But it definitely focuses mostly on Freddie and Nico, or rather Dylan. And I think it's not too horror leaning. Like, it has that little bit of it, but it feels like it takes place in our real world. Sometimes with the colors that they bring in, it feels almost like the little bits and pieces that we have inside of Nightmare 4, with some of those colors popping out, particularly toward the end of Nightmare 4, the finale, the kaleidoscope, a little bit in there, which I really liked, with the smoke and the lights and the way that those were used. The music and everything was great. I mean, I'm not picky at all, but you know, I know my Nightmare, and I think that they crushed it with that. I think it's a very professionally done film, as it should be. Obviously, like I said, Nora worked on it, and she was on Face Off. She's worked in Hollywood. She had help from Mikey Rotella, who works in Hollywood, and their editor of it apparently is working on the Chucky series right now. So that's some real industry talent. No wonder it looks and feels the way that it does. It is the kind of film that is so close to feeling like a real Hollywood production. But thank gosh for fan films. I mean, really, really, thank gosh. People were shouting and laughing and clapping and screaming. And I talked to Cecil after, and he was saying that, you know, they laughed at moments that he wanted them to, or they laughed at moments he didn't expect to get such a great laughter, but he's glad they did. And there's little Easter eggs in it, but not too many little Easter eggs that it feels forced. You know how sometimes people put that in fan films? You're like, oh, I I know what that's referring to. It's like the little things that just make sense. I really loved in the credits what's behind the scenes with behind all of the names. I was like, what the heck? Oh my God, I'm so excited about that. But if you love New Nightmare and you love fan films, you definitely need to check out Dylan's New Nightmare. It is set, and Robert, Cecil, anybody who might be on, I believe Sarah was talking about it coming out in August, maybe on YouTube. But you can also own a DVD or Blu-ray by helping bring the film to the finish line, because films take a lot of money for production, and there is a crowdfunding going on right now to help bring the film to the finish line. So I'm going to link that in the description below for you to help support the second round of crowdfunding. I definitely have donated my money, and I cannot wait for my Blu-ray for Dylan's New Nightmare. And yeah, that'll be going on, and then the film will hit YouTube. And follow the horror show, follow Dylan's New Nightmare, whether it's on YouTube or social media, wherever they are, to keep updated with the news for it, and see when it comes out. It's exciting. Cecil's always putting up content on the horror show. That's his YouTube channel about Dylan's New Nightmare. So there's a lot of really, really fun stuff there. I'm gonna check the comments. Ooh. Oh, Jim said Ron's autobiography is a great read. Gotta check that out. Dylan's New Nightmare for years. Jim, my buddy Jim, said he happily backed it and is excited to finally see it. Now, Jim is in Fredheads. You'll see him in Scream Queen. He is a huge Fredhead, so that's super exciting. Jim, I think you'll be blown away. Gustavo said, wasn't a fan of the Nightmare remake. Jackie Earle Haley just didn't do it for me as new Freddy. Robert Englund is still the GOAT. Listen, we always talk about, Freddy in that movie. I actually really liked Jackie. I wish he did have a little more fun with the character, but based on what I know from somebody who was on set, related to Nightmare, they were saying that it was just like Jackie would try to do something outlandish, and then they'd be like, no, pull it back. So you really can't blame Jackie. He did the best he could with the script he was given, which was not even the original script that everybody signed on for. The writers have said that the final script was a byproduct of like the night before the execs were like, here's your new script. And it was a hodgepodge of a bunch of different things, which was part of the reason why it was so messy. And I think it comes through. I think the weakest part of that whole movie is the CGI and the writing, truthfully. Horror show. Hey, Diandra, a couple minutes behind, but very glad you guys made it out. Thanks, buddy. That's Cecil. Follow him. Rob Numer said, what up, D? Sorry I'm late. Any word when the rest of the world will be able to see Dylan's New Nightmare? Hopefully I answered your question. Cecil, Robert, if you'd like to respond to that, you have a better idea than I do. What I heard was just kind of like, I think. But yeah, let us know. Ryan said, I was there, and no joke, Dave McRae can do the job. He was unreal as Freddy. He's been a pro in the industry for years, and I truly believe he could do it. I was shocked at how good he was. Honestly, me too. And being there in person, which you guys can see Dave McRae as Freddy on stage on the horror show. I'm sorry, it's on Dave McRae. I actually don't know if it's on the horror show's channel. Is it on the horror show? I think it might be on Dave McRae's channel. I watched it and I already forgot. Let me look it up real quick. Dylan's New Nightmare, Freddy. Let me see. Sorry. Yeah. That is in fact on Dave McRae official YouTube channel. Up there, I welcome Mad Monster Arizona to the premiere of Dylan's New Nightmare. It was posted 2 days ago, so you should definitely check that out. Robert said late August, Dylan's New Nightmare will be released. So late August, you guys, I'm like half torn between, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's like a month and some change away. But then I'm also like, now I got to wait all the time all over again. It's okay. I'll survive. I've waited for things before. Just in time for my birthday, Jim said. Davey said Dylan's new nightmare was the major factor in deciding to attend Monster Mania on Friday. I just had to finally meet Dave McRae, and the trailer had me hooked. Your cosplay rocked. Thank you. Gustavo said, you can't make a good horror movie with a bad script. You really can't. Cecil said late August is the aim. Yes. Cool. So there you have it. Like I said, you can definitely support their crowdfunding to bring Dylan's new nightmare home. It is well worth the investment. I am looking forward to my Blu-ray. I had to go for the Blu-ray and add it to my collection back here of all of my nightmare stuff. And it's worth a watch. If I had to give Flaming Pumpkins, I would say 4 Flaming Pumpkins out of a possible 5 Flaming Pumpkins, which is a real rating system. I subtracted 1 simply for the fact that it's not here for me to watch again. Sorry. No, it's great. It's probably, I'll just give it a 4.5. Flaming Pumpkins. It rocks. It rocks. Well done, Cecil. Well done, Robert. Well done, Dave. Well done, Mika. Well done, Ron. Well done, the whole cast and crew. It's great. But hi, Mud. Welcome. Yes, late August. Let's get here. Flaming Pumpkins. Put some Flaming Pumpkins in the chat. Freddie introduction on Dave's channel. Holy cow, seriously, that's ridiculous. He did. Yeah, Max. Dude, it was insane. Because I remember Cecil telling me, he was like, yeah, this is, Dave is a voice actor. But he, they still have to put the finishing touches on his voice. And I was like, wait, what the heck are you talking about? Like, this is really good, just as is. What are you talking about? And you see that video, and like, that's just his voice. He could do it. He doesn't need the whole slow down, kudos, major kudos to Dave McRae. Rob Nemo said, so it'll get the full 5 Flaming Pumpkins once you actually have the Blu-ray to watch. I don't like to be inconvenienced. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so that is my review and overview of Dylan's new nightmare. As I said, Jason and I we are putting together a full, like, behind the scenes, on the ground look at the premiere of Dylan's new nightmare. So if you could not be there, or if you want to, get a little extra insight or relive it, this is what this video will be, of just, getting that excitement behind the table, the excitement of the fans, some a visit from a horror icon who wants his picture with Freddy. Real story. I'm so glad I got that. Putting on the makeup, how people feel, seeing the energy in the room, seeing the amount of people in the room, all that stuff. We wanted to help showcase what this evening was like. And especially for the fans who couldn't be there, because I'm so glad that I was close, because I don't actually know if I would have been able to make it had we still been in Ohio. Super grateful that we were out here and able to make it for the premiere of Dylan's new nightmare, because it was well worth it. It was so exciting. There's nothing like seeing a good horror movie with fans, and there's nothing like seeing a good fan film with fans. There's nothing like seeing a good film with fans who are excited, who are loving it. It makes all the difference in the world. And this fan film, Dylan's New Nightmare, had people hooting and hollering, including me. So late August, keep an eye out for it. Check out Dave McRae's channel. Check out the link in the description. I will put their crowdfunding. Check out the horror show. Mark it on your calendars, late August, for Dylan's New Nightmare. Jason and I have a lot of other exciting things that we're working on, and more to come on that, but we have been busy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Thank you for supporting Dylan's New Nightmare and fan films, and chatting with me. I really appreciate it. I will see you next Wednesday. And until that time, Watch good horror movies and stay spooky, my friends. Later, alligators. And a wild crocodile. Boop, boop.